be accessible and supportive. It isn't just the right thing to do, it is the necessary thing to do to ensure economic stability with a well-educated, well-trained, and ideally bilingual workforce. In my interviews of community members and research, I found that the Santa Clara Valley was integral to getting a measure passed to bring money to the district, and were in exchange promised more equitable access to higher education via their own program, where they could manage programming to meet the specific needs of the Santa Clara Valley. However, it is also my understanding this never came to pass. As board trustee, I will advocate for the Santa Clara Valley and ask for transparency of district finances. Currently, the district is well over the minimum rainy day budget amount, and there isn't a policy to cap it. As a board trustee, I will hold administrators accountable to their promises, as well as I expect to be held accountable.
Ms. Wall, excuse me, your 2 minutes is up.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Mr. Mantooth.
Thank you and good evening. First, I'd like to thank the Chamber, Latino Town Hall, LULAC, and our moderators tonight, and especially the translators, porque es un poco difícil para mí hablar español. As you know, my name is Stan Mantooth, and I'm the Ventura County Superintendent of Schools. It's a position I have held for the last 12 years, since 2008. It wasn't always this way. It's been a long journey over the last 40 years or so. I am a product of community colleges, and I received my AA degree when they were called junior colleges. But my experience was exemplary. The class sizes were small. The instructors were great. The course offerings were available, and you could finish your degree in 2 years and transfer on to a 4-year university. Those are some of the reasons why I value them. And I would like that experience to continue or even get better for the children today. One of the ways I refer to my job is I'm the head cheerleader for 130,000 students here in Ventura County. And I'd like to continue doing that for over 30,000 students who we trained as raw material that now attend our community colleges. I started in education as a school custodian many years ago. There are some times when I wish I was back in that job. And I've had many jobs along the way. And most recently, though, I've had the opportunity to be adjunct faculty at Cal State Northridge, Cal State Channel Islands, and Pepperdine University. One of the reasons I'm aspiring to this office as well as the one I hold is because I believe they are complementary.
Thank you. And Mr. Ramirez.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Joe Ramirez, and I'm a lifelong resident of Ventura County. I attended Fillmore High School, received an AA from Moore Park College, a BA from UC Santa Barbara, a master's from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and have over 40 years of experience in education. Tonight, you will be able to listen to 3 candidates, one of which you will choose for your trustee. This election for trustee will help make decisions and set policies that will impact student success rates, the number of students graduating, transferring, and receiving certificates in a timely manner. It will impact DACA students, immigrant students, students with financial challenges, students that are homeless, students that feel left out or disenfranchised, and students who want to develop a new or improved skill set for job opportunities. It will impact the economic growth and job creation in the Santa Clara Valley, as well as the rest of the county. It will impact how we move forward with the development of career technical programs that will better serve our student population. I have a plan that will increase student enrollment, addressing curriculum issues that prevent students from graduating and transferring within 2 or 3 years. I have a plan to develop real partnerships with our feeder high schools, leading to better preparation and transition from high school to community college. I have relationships with the trades and unions to have programs that will prepare students to enter apprenticeships and learn the necessary skills. And I commit to Santa Clara Valley to advocate for the University Center that was promised through the college bond measure of 2002. I'm a community college student. I'm a community college administrator and counselor. I know the community college system and am well equipped to tackle those impacted areas. I will lead with a plan with real insight, knowledge, and experience. It's time for the district to take the challenge to provide a better education for our students. I'm the transformative trustee, ready to begin on day one.
Thank you. We'll now begin with our questions. I'll ask a question, then each candidate will in turn get a chance to answer it, and then my colleague will ask a question, and we'll continue that way throughout the remainder of the evening. In 2002, the Community College District passed a construction bond with overwhelming support from the voters of Santa Clara Valley. The bond was sold to Valley voters by promising the development of an education center that would greatly improve services to students in the Valley and serve as a catalyst for economic development in the Valley. That center was never developed because of cost overruns on other projects. College district services to the Valley were subsequently reduced below 2002 levels, and an entire generation of students lost out while their families paid down the bond. What would you do to make amends and ensure a more equitable distribution of services? Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question. Mr. Ramirez, you're up first.
Thank you for that question. I was Dean of Student Services at Oxnard College at the time that bond measure was passed. And it wasn't necessarily a cost overrun that didn't allow for that center to be built, because that was part of it was implemented, it was part of the bond measure to create and build and develop the center. So it wasn't because of cost overruns. I believe it was because of poor management, and they directed the funds to other projects. As trustee, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I will commit and I will advocate for a new bond measure that will help support the development of a university center here in the Santa Clara Valley.
Thank you. Mr. Mantooth.
Yes, I was around when Measure S passed. Assurances were made, they were not delivered upon, and I believe that there's a wound that is not healed as a result of that. I recently visited the facility that is known as the East Campus here in Santa Paula, and I was not impressed. Simply put, it's a storefront. To me, that's not a center. That's not all it can be. There are many ways to leverage funds and facilities. And as you know, as you can imagine, I'm very passionate about the entire continuum of education, from early education through college and career. And I can see the development of partnerships with the Santa Paula Unified School District, Fillmore Unified School District, companies like Limonera, to acquire land and develop brick and mortar facilities that can be used for in-person as well as distance learning to serve the students of this valley.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Wall. Ms. Wall, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. As a teacher, I am expected to be transparent and hold others accountable. I will join, when elected, I will join the current board trustees, chancellor, and to ask for that transparency. Why are we not seeing the rainy day funds? Why do we have such an excess of them? And how can those be used to fulfill the promises of the administrators who broke their promises years ago? Yes.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yes.
Sorry, you guys cut out, so I didn't know if you were there. So
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Thank you.
Did that complete your statement?
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. What kind of policies and practices need to be enacted to increase enrollment in our community colleges, to retain students once enrolled, and to shorten the time it takes to graduate? We'll start with Mr. Mantooth.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to start with the onboarding process. It is extremely cumbersome for a student just to enroll in our community colleges as it stands right now. If you can open a bank account in 5 minutes, why can't you access college in as short a time? That's something that is in need of serious overhaul. The other thing that we've learned to do in my K-12 world is to listen to the students themselves, to see how they feel and what they want and what excites them. Use that and that survey material and focus groups to expand our offerings to students and market in a much more significant way than I see our colleges doing now. And I see people like myself as trustees, as the ambassadors that can do that, not just at the local level, but at the state as well.
Mr. Ramirez.
I have a plan, some priorities that I looked at in terms of developing a program that would help our students at the college, first of all at the high school level, and develop a partnership that transfers positions, that will provide the support that students need in order to transition from the high schools to the community colleges. This is, I think, the biggest problem that we have where students aren't prepared enough to go from high school to a community college. And we know that right now only 40% are successful over a period of 5 years. So this shows that when they enter, they're not prepared. And this is something that has been mentioned that maybe some of us years ago were able to complete in 2 to 3 years, but I believe that we can do that by setting the policies that are going to work with the high schools, provide access, provide the support, and work with the students so that they too can graduate and transfer within 2 or 3 years.
Mrs. Walden, the floor is yours.
Yeah, can you please repeat the question? It cut out and I couldn't quite hear my opponent's
Sure thing.
speeches.
Sure thing. The question is, what kind of policies and practices, oops, hold on. Let me make sure my mic is on. Okay, what kind of policies and practices need to be enacted to increase enrollment in our community colleges, to retain students once enrolled, and to shorten the time it takes to graduate?
Well, to be honest, I have an issue with the question. I don't think every learner needs to have a shortened time. I think one of the beautiful parts of the community college is that we have flexibility, that we have options that allow people to work or learn at their pace. We allow for students of all ages to come back, to take 2 years, 3 years, what they need. If their pathway is to get through in 2 years, the systems in place are working. They're doing a great job. The professors are working hard to help students to get through. They are doing the very best that they can. And I believe that we already provide a great system and that we don't need to rush students out. We just need to support them in their timeline.
Thank you.
All right, the next question. Should you be elected, the district you would be representing is a diverse one. What experience do you have working with diverse populations? How will you balance the needs of your various constituencies? And what principles will guide your decisions? Mr. Ramirez, we'll start with you.
Thank you. The first principle that's going to guide my work that I'll do as a trustee will be for students, working to help students be successful. And I do believe that they should have the opportunity to graduate within 2 to 3 year period of time. We know that only 18% of all students that enter a community college graduate within 2 to 3 year period of time, and that's not because they're not wanting to. It's not because they are looking at extending time there. There's issues that we need to be able to work with and fix and plan and develop policies that's going to develop curriculum, programming, and the resources that students need in order to leave within 2 to 3 years and be able to transfer. Many students I've talked to individually have said that because they haven't got either the proper advisement, they haven't had the opportunity to take the right classes, that they are not able to transfer or graduate in a period of 2 to 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Mrs. Wall, did you hear the question?
I only heard part of it once again. Sorry.
That's
I'm
all right.
doing as best I can on my end. This is like, this is my daily. This is fine.
Yeah,
but if you could repeat it.
We're all kind of working under unusual circumstances for
Yes.
the last 6 months, and
Very
so
much so.
this is just one more episode. I'll repeat the question. The district
you.
you would be representing is a diverse one. What experience do you have working with diverse populations? How will you balance the needs of your various constituencies, and what principles will guide your decisions?
Thank you. I've been working with diverse learners my whole career. I started out teaching with a fully inclusive classroom, which is all students of all abilities, one place. And I have been working with English learners to acquire English the last 2 decades. This is my lane. This is my area, working to make sure it's accessible. Equity is huge. I'm a restorative justice facilitator, meaning I have been trained to have these conversations that are uncomfortable, that are difficult, that bridge the gaps between the diversities so that we can all proceed towards the vocation and the education that our community needs for our stability. I have 17 years as a teacher. I have many years as an advisor working with other teachers to provide access to education for English learners. That is my passion, and it is been the focus of my career. And I have served on many committees to make sure that the district in which I teach has access for all learners.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Mantooth.
It may sound a bit trite and overused, but I believe that all means all. Over 60% of our K-12 population are students of color. And at the community college level, over 50% are. That's our world. In our office in particular, at the county office, we educate incarcerated youth, at-risk students that have been expelled, and also the most severely impacted special needs students. I'll never forget at a graduation ceremony, a young lady from our Phoenix School for Emotionally Disturbed Students said, "I'm not a bad person, I've just made some bad choices." And that's the truth, and that's the way I believe it. And that's why I think we can help each and every student. There's some great special needs programs at Ventura College that I'd love to see replicated at the other sites as well. But again, a focus on equity and underserved populations.
Thank you.
Okay, what are your plans to increase certificate completion, degree completion, and transfer rate, particularly for Latino students? And let's start with Mr. Ramirez.
I'm thinking, did I get an opportunity to answer the question about diversity?
Oh, I apologize. Think we skipped.
I'm sorry, my error. Please.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Should you be elected, the district you would be representing is a diverse one. What experience do you have working with diverse populations? How will you balance the needs of your various constituencies, and what principles will guide your decisions?
Thank you. I am part of that diverse population and community. Growing up a Chicano student and in Fillmore and learning that most of the people I was around didn't have the opportunity and have access to community college or four-year colleges put me in a position to really try to understand where we're at. I've dedicated my whole life, my whole career, to working with students of color, students from different backgrounds. As a dean, as a vice president, I always worked with students that from different backgrounds. And one of the things that as a vice president at LA Community College, LA Mission College, I got to work with the black community, which we have a smaller population, but it was something that I think that was really advantageous for my part because this is something that I was able to do, can do, will do, continue to do as a trustee in reaching out to students, talking with them, working with them to make sure that their voices are heard.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll go back to the same question. What are your plans to increase certificate completion, degree completion, and transfer rate, particularly for Latino students? And we'll go back to you, Mr. Ramirez.
Okay, thank you. This is a question that I think is being repeated as we move along because we're continuing to talk about student success. We know again that only a very small percentage graduate within 2 or 3 years. And again, I don't believe it's because I believe it's because they're not adequately prepared to go in, take the courses that they need to take in order to graduate and transfer. There is that support that the feeder high schools need in order to really develop their students. I know that math and English seem to be courses that are somewhat absolute, but when a student goes from high school to the community college or colleges, they find out that 2 and 2 don't always equal 4. And therefore, they take a math course thinking that they have the skill set, but they do not. Same with English. They may be teaching English grammar at the high schools, but they're teaching perhaps literature at the community colleges. So we have to plan, we have to work, we have to develop those policies that's going to provide the students the resources to be able to be better prepared as they transition to community colleges.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. And we'll move over to Mr. Mantooth.
Thank you. I recently had an opportunity to speak to a transfer. Is this mic not on?
It's just hard to hear you.
Can you hear me? That light is not on? It should be live. Oh. Now it is. Forgive me. Sorry that took so much of our valuable time. I recently had the opportunity to speak with a transfer counselor at Oxnard College and found to my dismay that she was the only full-time staff member dedicated to ensuring and helping students in our community colleges transfer to a four-year university. I am heartened, however, by the fact that that same college has adopted the Promise Initiative, which allows students to go to college virtually for free and with the guarantee of a transfer to a four-year CSU if they hold up their end of the bargain. But speaking about excess reserves and spending a little bit of that money for dedicated capacity building, I think just like what we experience in my world, we have the highest case rates for counselors in the entire nation. And we need more folks with boots on the ground to be able to directly help those students and have adequate time to do the job right.
Thank you, Mr. Mantooth. Same question for you, Mrs. Wall. If you need me to repeat it, please let me know.
Yeah, I'm guessing you said my name, but I only heard, this is so hard, I only heard Nicole and I didn't hear the rest of it. If you could please repeat the question or what you asked me.
Sure thing. So the question is, what are your plans to increase certificate completion, degree completion, and transfer rate, particularly for Latino students?
Wonderful. That is the population I mainly teach. I teach them when they first come here from a variety of Latin American countries, and this is very close to my heart. The first focus is closing that achievement gap with supportive programming. We're looking at what is effective, not what is on trend. Looking at what the students are saying their needs are. Asking the professors who are on the front lines, what are you seeing are the needs of our students? And then going from there and looking into our budget, things of areas that have excess, like our rainy day. It's a storm, by the way. And saying, hey, we have $60+ million here. How can we use this to help our Latinos and Latinas to progress through our college program in a timeline that works for them, that is part of their goal for their education or their vocation?
Thank you.
All right, our next question. What is your long-term vision for Ventura College East Campus? Please be specific. Mr. Mantooth, let's start with you.
Okay, I think I got the button right this time.
Sounds like it.
As I alluded to before, I recently had a discussion with Dr. Ed Cora, who's the superintendent of the Santa Paula Unified School District. And they had been working on some land acquisition with the Limoneira Corporation for an elementary school and a high school site. Based upon enrollment projections, it's unlikely that they will need the piece that they had identified for a high school site. I could see this opportunity as one to be seized as ripe for incorporating programs and facilities on that land for students not just already in college, but high school students that would engage in dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment programs. Since I have a few seconds left, the previous question talked about certificate programs, and that's where career technical education and the business community come in. And also with a focus on Latino students, each and every one of these colleges should be a Hispanic serving institution. Money comes with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wall, did you
I got most of the question, but if you could please repeat it, that would be great.
I would be happy to. What is your long-term vision for Ventura College East Campus? Please be specific.
Thank you. My long-term vision is looking at what are the needs, not what we see on the board, but what are the people of the East Campus that will be utilizing East Campus needing, surveying them, asking them, what are you seeing you need to do? And then going to our unions and other organizations and asking them, where can we support you and build our economy together? Looking at those career pathways, the CTE, which is career and technical work, and saying to our community here, this is the pathway. If you want to become an iron worker, this is how you can get there. These are the courses you can get. This is the programming you can get, and you can get it at East Campus. My long-term plan is to look at organizations that we can collaborate with, but mainly to listen to the needs of the people who utilize and would utilize and have been neglected with the poor management of the East Campus. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, thank you. My long-term vision for the East Campus has already begun. I'm a member of the Santa Clara Valley Together that has been working with the district and working with the communities to develop a plan and working with Limoneira to provide the property and to move forward with the development and the further increase of student enrollment within the East Campus. I am endorsed by Limoneira. I have met with Limoneira to discuss the possibilities of the property that has been spoken about to where we could develop the property, the University Center. The long-term goal is to not only have community college workers or community college students going there, but also to have the opportunity for four-year campuses, CLU, CSU, Channel Islands, CSUN, USC, UCLA, have to be able to provide courses at a center that will provide support to our communities in Fillmore, Santa Paula, Piru, and all over the county. That this would be a center that would really attract a lot of people coming into our valley.
Thank you.
Okay, so given the impacts of COVID-19, what innovations do you see the district making to assist its staff and its students? And we'll start with Ms. Wall.
So you're asking what innovations do the students need given the global pandemic, correct?
That's correct.
Wonderful. As a person who is actually currently a student as well online in a pandemic, and I'm teaching and I'm assisting my own children in their learning, I believe looking at the equity and how to access learning during this pandemic, it is beyond just making sure we have great programming. For students that I am seeing daily, it's having terrible Wi-Fi or no access to it. or not having the language skills to understand the technology that they are given by the district. And I believe this is a systemic issue that is creating barriers for students and their accessibility to school and to education. And I don't believe it's going to end. So looking towards the future, once again, going back to surveying the people who it most affects, asking, being willing to listen, humbling ourselves and saying, hey, we have not been providing for you. How can we provide for you in a better manner that makes sense? How can we use our rainy day funds that have just been sitting and accruing? How can we use these to better support your dreams, your timeline for your education and your vocational paths? Thank you.
Okay, we'll go over to Mr. Mantooth.
This is unquestionably a rainy day time, just like the Great Recession, just like the wildfires. And it was not of our choosing, but I think we've done a remarkable job in pivoting to something that we talked a lot about and did very little in terms of distance learning. Since last spring, when we were faced with that, we've made great progress. Amazing progress, because it's not the same way of teaching, and training teachers to deliver their content differently has been a challenge that we're meeting, and we get better and better at it. I still believe there's no substitute for in-person instruction and those connections that you forge with an instructor and your fellow classmates, but it will be part of, I believe, our educational fabric well beyond the pandemic time. But this is a time of urgency, and I have great concern about learning loss.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez.
Our students are suffering because of the pandemic, and I don't believe the district was prepared for online course teaching. I don't believe that the faculty were prepared to teach online courses, and that they had to learn in the spring semester this past spring semester of 20, how to teach online, which put students behind. I know that I believe we're going all the way to the spring of 21 online courses. And so I think the district really has to take a hard look at the resources they're not only providing for students, but also the faculty, and to have the resources faculty need. And I know that even with the support staff, they too need the support in order to be able to do the things they do with the students, and being able to get the financial aid, get the admissions, do the records that they have. And students really need to have the support, the student support services that include tutoring, the counseling, the advising. And so I do think that we have a long way to go before we can say that we're being successful with online teaching.
Thank you. Next question. What is one area you would like to focus on to help close achievement gaps, especially those experienced by students from marginalized communities? Mr. Mantooth, we'll start with you.
That would be one of my top 3 priorities that I have self-identified as a candidate for this particular office. We're a human business, and the better human capital we have to work with our students, whether they be the instructors, the administrators, or the support staff, and the retention of those people is one of the keys to helping our students. And as I mentioned before, building capacity in particular targeted positions that are dedicated not only towards students' academic achievement, but their social emotional well-being as well. I would argue that the one is the equal of the other.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez.
I think the one area for me to close the achievement gap would be to begin to look at how we work with youth at the K through 12 level. If students are transitioning to the community colleges and not being successful, why aren't they? The preparation at K through 12 needs to be, I think there's a bridge to be gapped. There's a bridge that I believe that K through 12 needs to have more conversations with community college, faculty to faculty, administrators to administrators. Find out why their community college students are not succeeding at a higher rate of 40% over 5 or 6 years. Build the bridges, work together, and you will find that you can close that gap rather quickly.
Thank you. And Ms. Wall, would you like the question repeated?
Sure. Thank you very much.
What is one area you would like to focus on to help close achievement gaps, especially those experienced by students from marginalized communities?
Thank you. I think it all comes down to flexibility. Looking at marginalized communities are not having their needs met. They're not being provided for, they're not being protected, and they're not having the support that they need. When we support our teachers, we support our students. When we support both of those entities, we have a stronger system, and we can go from there to close the achievement gaps. Not all learners are the same. Some need those remedial courses. They need that second chance. We shouldn't just be pushing them through because of our numbers and we want to get them out. We need to provide flexible online or in-person options for students. They need to be working for students with disabilities. They need to be working for students of color. They need to be working for students of low SES. And if we are not listening and we are just focused on getting our students out, we do not provide that flexibility. So to close the achievement gap, I would focus on flexibility of the pathways that we provide and support our students and our teachers.
Thank you. And I believe we have time for one more question.
Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Ramirez. What 3 things in your life experience, your education, and or work experience should we keep at the top of our mind as we consider voting for you?
The first thing would be my experience working at community colleges. As a dean at Student Services, as a vice president of Student Services, and a counselor. I've learned the intricacies of a community college system. They're not the same as K through 12. They're very different. I've worked with faculty, I've worked with classified, I've had a lot of time to be able to learn and know what a trustee has to do and can start on day one on becoming a trustee. I look at my experience as a student at Fillmore High School and Moore Park College and know that Chicano students of color don't have the same access. And that we now we talk about marginalized students, and we look at our school system, and we look at K through 12, they're not really, they're mostly students of color. The highest percentage of students, if we look at Santa Paula High School, it's about 85% Latino students at the high school. So we know that my experiences as a life learner is one that directly is relatable to all our students on our campuses.
Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Mantooth.
Yes, thank you. I think that I will bring many, many years of experience, leadership, and connections, both locally, statewide, and even at the federal level to this job. And I can hit the bricks running on day one. I probably attended and developed more agendas than most board members in their careers. I have a deep knowledge and understanding of budgets. Our office oversees nearly $2 billion in funds, and in the 24 years I've been there, both as the CBO and now the superintendent, we have not had an insolvency. And cash is king, and money is the fuel for our mission in education. I also, as I mentioned before, believe that this is a rainy day, but there are harder times ahead, and we have to be careful and deliberative with our resources as we move forward, so we can do that in a graduated way for the students of today and the students as the future unfolds.
Thank you. Ms. Wall, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, absolutely. What three things in your life experience, education, and/or work experience should we keep at the top of our minds as we consider voting for you?
Thank you. I believe that you should keep the first thing. I'm a teacher. My boots are on the ground, as we say, and I am there every day. Until you've sat in a Zoom trying to get 5 different languages, communicate in 5 different languages to students and walk them through the technicalities just to get them to the curriculum, I don't think you'll understand the barriers that our students are currently facing, and it's going to go ongoing. So first, that I am a teacher, that I am in it. I am doing this every day. Second is that I recently graduated with online learning, and I did so during the pandemic. I know what it is to be a wife, a mother, a full-time employee, and be a full-time student. And it's a challenge that I don't wish upon anyone during the pandemic, but I know that education can bring change, and I strongly support it, even with these challenges, even with the barriers. And the last is that I'm a collaborator. I am trained to listen. I have done extensive committee work to provide information. I represented the English learners from my district when we looked to reopen and redesign. I have been on committee work to develop plans for our district for English learners.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Thank you, Ms. Wall. That was the end of the 2 minutes. Thank you so much.
All right, that's the end of our prepared questions. So we'll now do the wrap-up. Each of you will have 1 minute summation for this evening. Mr. Mantooth, let's start with you.
Let's see if I get the technology right.
It's working.
Okay. I think because of my age, I'm a digital alien. One of the things I mentioned before is my experience and my breadth of knowledge and my ability to leverage things, and also policy level experience, developing policies and implementing policies. I also am a systems thinker. I'd like to see the 3 colleges a lot closer together instead of islands in the stream, be part of a whole and be a real district. I would encourage you to visit my website to learn more and see the people that are supporting me, including in this community, Christina Urias, board member in Santa Paula, Dr. Cora that I mentioned, and Dr. Lisa Salinas, that may have delivered quite a few children in this area. I am number 1 on your ballot. I think I have the breadth of knowledge and experience to do a great job as 1 of 5 for the entire district, and I would like your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wall, your 1 minute summation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am the teacher that VCCCD needs. I will be the voice that will listen first and then speak. I thank you, everyone, for your time and your flexibility to include me in this manner that allows me to keep my vulnerable family members safe during the pandemic. Your vote will magnify my voice. Your vote will ensure change by making me the 3rd majority vote that can finally move the community college district forward. Your vote will ensure we weather this storm and emerge stronger, because I am committed to fight for transparency, accountability, social and educational justice, and equitable access to education and vocational training. I will fight as only a teacher who is in it and understands it can. With every resource I have, I will fight for transparency and equity. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Ramirez, your summation.
Thank you. I have been at the community college level. I have worked with community college students. I have the knowledge, I have the wherewithal to understand what needs to get done at the community college level. I don't have to go in and be mentored. I can start tomorrow as a trustee. I believe that I will be the only candidate that can say that I will devote 100% of my time. I won't be teaching, I won't be supervising the county Department of Education. I'll be able to provide the support that's needed by the staff, faculty, our students. I will listen, I will be there, and I will work hard for District or Area 3, including Camarillo, Piru, Santa Paula, South Oxnard, and Hueneme. I have endorsements that include City Councilmen in Fillmore, Santa Paula, Port Hueneme, and Oxnard. I have the Chief of Police of Port Hueneme. I have Limonetta. I have the Carpenters 805. I have a very large amount of folks that are have endorsed me, and I ask for your vote. Vote for Joe Ramirez is a vote for student success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this concludes our forum. Thank you to our candidates for joining us. Thank you to our moderators, Ned Branch and Manuel Mijares. Thank you to Lorenzo Marasa from the Santa Paula Latino Town Hall. Thank you to Laura Espinosa from the LULAC District 17. Thank you to Patricia Zavala, our our translators, the City of Santa Paula, KDYTV.com, and all of our other supporters that have helped put this together. Please visit santapaulachamber.com for current events and updates on this within the community. So thank you again. I'm John Marquez, and please be